I cheered for Rainey. He's like, well, good, you know, because I made 25 of your weekends really hell, didn't I?
Kevin Schwantz, welcome to BikeSocial. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a real honour of mine to talk to you and interview you today. Firstly, you've been around the Goodwood paddock today. I think you came in yesterday. Is it nice to be back in the UK after everything, all the strange things that happened in the world recently?
You know, it's always great to travel and get back and see friends and cars and motorcycles and, you know, guys that you've grown up, spent your careers racing against, trying to beat. Just family. I mean, I feel like anybody that races a motorcycle is family. Anybody that rides a motorcycle is family. So, you know, to come back to an event like the Festival of Speed is just great, and it's been you know, it's been something that I've missed. You know, I've been to a couple Grand Prix, just the ones at Code. I haven't really traveled to any, so I'm excited to see what the crowd looks like here on Saturday, Sunday.
You've been given the chance to ride up this famous hill against your old rival and mate Wayne Rainey. Did you ever think that was going to ever happen to you?
You know, I didn't think there would ever be the chance to ride with him again, but yeah, I'm excited about it.
What kind of emotions do you think you're going to get from it? Do you think you're going to be a little bit emotional? Do you think you're going to well up a little bit, or you think
I'm
you're
going to
be...
have to try and kick his ass? No, that's not true at all. It's a parade going up, and just being on a motorcycle beside the man means as much as anything.
What made your rivalry with Wayne so intense and so fierce, but so special for everybody else that was watching?
You know, I think just our initial dislike for each other. I mean, Wayne felt like everything was given to me on a golden platter. I said, well, you never raced a Suzuki, did you? But you know, and as our careers both advanced and we realized the world was a big enough place for both of us, we started to get along a whole lot better once the 90s got to us. It may have taken all the way to late 91, 92, but you know, he's 2 championships in, and I'm still trying to pick up my first one. We got to where we could at least talk to each other, at least on a Sunday night anyway.
What's the relationship like now? I believe you're very close and good friends, aren't you?
Yeah. You know, I like to keep tabs on Wayne and what he's doing with Moto America, and I think they're doing a great job. You know, when I heard he was coming here, I called him and just gave him a little debrief on what I felt, how difficult this event can be. You know, and I mean, that's for me, for him to be able to get back on a bike and get on and get off and get up and get down. You know, there was so many factors that figured into it, but absolutely, total respect, and I've always had. I mean, nothing's ever changed there.
Do you still get people coming up to you now saying, I'm still Team Rainey?
You know, there's always going to be those people. Well, I mean, a fan was a fan. You know, they're like, Kevin, you know, your career was great, but I cheered for Rainey. He's like, well, good, you know, because I made 25 of your weekends really hell, didn't I?
One question that we kind of want to ask you, what are your thoughts with what's going on with Suzuki motorcycles at the moment? I know they're obviously pulling out of MotoGP, and things seem to be a little bit down in the dumps with Suzuki at the moment. What are your thoughts and feelings on what's going on there?
You know, I don't know much of what's going on as far as the internal workings. I especially don't know Suzuki at MotoGP, but I for sure don't know at the top who the person or the people are that made that decision to stop. You know, we always seem to struggle in racing at Suzuki with, you know, the bean counters coming up with whether we made sense or not. And I don't know how you can ever make sense of Grand Prix racing or MotoGP racing, but you know, it's something that Suzuki did well at. I think their brand image was definitely something that was kept in front of the public, was made better by being in MotoGP. But you know, if the finances have gotten to that point where you know, something they've got to stop doing, I'm sure I have no idea what the actual number might be that they spend every year going racing without any kind of outside sponsorship. I mean, it's got to be 20 million, 30 million, and that doesn't even count any of all the R&D hours and everything being, and that for me is just a guess, knowing kind of what their numbers are. If I ever ask about, hey, what do I need for a MotoGP team? Well, a good budget, we start at 10. Let's go from there. So I honestly, I don't know, and that's just a bunch of hearsay. But you know, I hope things sort themselves out, and I hope, you know, it's something that they can, you know, maybe a couple of years down the road, 5 years down the road, maybe they can come back to Grand Prix racing. But no talk of it like they did when they quit last time. Like, we'll be back in 3 years. So wish them the best, and you know, hopefully we get to see Suzuki back on the Grand Prix circuit again soon.
From what I was looking at last night in my hotel room, it's just almost 30 years since you won your world title. Does it feel like 30 years? Do you still think about it? Do you still have flashbacks, or does it feel, or do you feel like, yeah, it feels like 30 years?
You know, it definitely does not feel like 30 years. You know, but I also told somebody just the other day, I was like, geez, it was just the turn of the century, and 2000 was here, and were we all going to survive that? You know, when New Year's changed over. So you know, that's been 22 years now. So to say 30 seems a long way off. No, it seems like time just going by faster and faster. So it's something that I look back on, you know, occasionally. Whenever I get around a bunch of guys that want to talk motorcycles, I'll tell a few stories and, you know, make a few people smile, and, you know, maybe get some disgruntled Rainey fans who want to debate some issues with me. But, you know, that's what racing's all about.
What's probably your best memory from that year? What would you say stand out? That's the best memory, and it could be anything. It could be, you know, one night in a bar with everyone, or it could be on the track.
Well, I mean, of course, the championship is something that I really cherish, but I would have rather finished second. Highlights, you know, I think the start of the season, we won at Eastern Creek. Got a bad start. I was 15th in so many races where I typically was a person that couldn't handle the pressure, couldn't handle the heat. Oh shit, I'm having to come from the back. What's going to happen now? Just how calculated I seemed to be, how good that bike seemed to handle. All that hard work we did in 92 to get us to that point to start 93 just really seemed to pay off. And, you know, with the exception of Mick knocking us down at Donington, you know, it would have never really been even a competition. So, you know, we were just slowly building points. We'd lose maybe one week, and then we'd make double that up the next week. I mean, we were doing exactly what it took to win a championship, with the exception of that little hiccup with Mick. But, you know, just overall memory of my career in general. I mean, 94, at the end of 93 when Wayne got hurt, I told myself, I called Suzuki and I said, hey, you know, guys, I'd love to race next year, and I'm going to do everything I can to get fit, to be ready to do it, and I'm going to go test with you. I'm going to cherish the opportunity. I'm going to chase it like it's something I've never done before. But I never had that. I never had that zip back in me. I did fall off and break my arm on a mountain bike 3 weeks before the first Grand Prix, which gave me something else now to think about, which probably extended my career 3/4 of the way through the 94 season. And came back, Australia 4th, Malaysia 3rd, and won the Japanese. I was like, we're back. And then I think one of the most demoralizing things that season was breaking the lap record the last lap at Jerez and not being able to beat Mick. I was like, man, they've got that friggin' bike working good. So, yeah, I mean, just a little bit of everything. I don't focus really that much on 93. I just look at my career and how happy I am with, you know, what I did. Yeah, I made some mistakes, and I'd love to have some of those races back, but, you know, that's what you learn from.
At the moment, MotoGP is leaps and bounds ahead of whatever happened in your career, and it's so far on in terms of technology and what goes on there. Do you think that you'd have been able to cope as a rider in the current form as what it is now?
You know, they sure seem to do a lot more. You know, I feel like I did a lot when we were with Lucky Strike, but it seems like media, this, that, scheduled, boom, 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 everything laid out for them every weekend. Yeah, I think the media side of it's got to be more difficult now than it was. Plus, you got to play on some social media too as a rider. I had somebody's agent tell me, 4 years, Crutchlow's agent told me, it don't matter what the results are, how many followers you got. That's all the sponsors care about. So, you know, I probably would have struggled with it from that aspect. You know, like I said, I think Grand Prix racing isn't easier now, but it's a whole lot more forgiving than it ever was back when we raced.
From the little bits of research that I've done over the last few days and watched a little podcast video with you yesterday, I found out that you're a real big watchman. A little bit like myself. Why is that? Well, sort of, is it the engineering side around it, or is it just simply that you just really like nice watches?
You know, I really like nice watches. I walked in and first person I ran into was a friend of mine, Seamus. Seamus is working on the Singer project. And he goes, look, he goes, nice cars and everybody here likes nice watches. And he's pulled his off and showed me, and it's a Singer that's developed, it tells time around the outside ring. It's kind of small numbers for me. I have a hard time seeing it, but you know, I think it's, you know, is it the mechanical aspect of it? Maybe. I don't know that much about all of my watches. That, you know, what movement is it? What this is it? What that is it? I just kind of like the looks of them, and I think they're probably a pretty good investment too.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. We've asked this question to Wayne and to Kenny, and they've given us some really good answers, so there's no pressure on you on this one. But what is your most prized possession that you've got in your house or in a lockup or a unit or anything anywhere from your career? And it can be anything. It can be the bike, leathers, helmet, trophy, anything. What's your most prized possession from your career?
It's my 93 championship bike that my buddy Nathan has come back and restored, and I mean, it's got brand new carbon rotors on it. It's ready to go race a Grand Prix. I've got two sets of Michelin slicks from that exact era. You know, and I think it's unlike most of the guys that have replicas of their bikes. It's just an engine and cases just sitting there. But yeah, I've actually got one of the things that I'm going to do before I turn 60 is I'm going to get my 93 championship bike, my first super bike, my first Grand Prix bike, which is a Square 4, which I just bought as well. It's the old Heron Suzuki bike with the carbon Ciba-Geigy frame on it. I have that, and then I have a 94 bike of mine as well. And I want to go spend a day at a track. I hadn't figured out exactly where yet, and go ride those bikes and spend most of the day playing around on all four of them.
Well, when you do that, can you let us know so we can come and watch?
Absolutely. We will definitely make a big media push out of it for sure.
Do you have anything specific that you want to see while you're at Goodwood? Is there anything that really floats your boat? And it can be cars, anything. Or are you just here for a good time? You
know, I'm just here for a good time. We did try and schedule some time. I really wanted to go drive a Land Rover. Land Rover, Range Rover. Really wanted to drive a Range Rover. And walked over and had a look at them and sat in one, and I've kind of changed my mind about that. It's, you know, I think it's always cool seeing all the cars coming in, you know, what's that, oh, what's that, oh, what's that, and then when you get in here, seeing everything that there is here. The new technology, I did see a Porsche Panamera Estate, all electric, and I mean, what's the lines on that car? It is really, really pretty, although I'm absolutely not an electric car person. My motors are going to be internal combustion till the day I go.
I was going to say, and I'm sure you're two-stroke, not four-stroke. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What's it like being around these guys again? I know just briefly before you came over here, you had a quick picture with Wayne and Kenny. Does it feel like friends reunited, or is it like you've never been away?
No, I've seen Kenny more recently than I've seen Wayne, but it's probably been a year, maybe a little more than that I've seen Wayne. I've talked to Wayne, you know, 3 or 4 times a year typically, it seems like. It's just kind of like old home day, you know, back to school, here we are. Just no pressure. That's what's nice about it.
Finally then, before we let you get off and enjoy the rest of your day here at Goodwood, you've got a young Kevin Schwantz stood in front of you. What piece of advice would you give to that young Kevin Schwantz that you learnt across your career that you didn't get when you started out?
You know, I give every last bit of credit in getting on a Grand Prix bike to Barry Sheen. You know, go try and find that Kenny Roberts. Go try and find that Barry Sheen. Go try and find that Agostini and introduce yourself and say, hey, sir, I'm an up-and-coming. I really would like to do, you know, and then just let your results talk for themselves. So easy to say too much, and then kind of everybody gets a little disenchanted with you, like, oh, okay, yeah, sure you will. Just let your results speak for you.